let's have a talk about stories and how stories are important to people, um, but how it's important to acknowledge that every character in the story is fictional, unless it's biographical or autobiographical. And so, the definition of a fictional and non-fictional character is a different debate at this point. It might be covered later in the video, but we'll start with the idea of stories. Okay, so in stories, you have the author of the story, the one who's telling the story. You have the characters in the story and the events that they go through, which is the story arc or plot. But then outside of that dynamic, you have the readers or the audience of that story are the ones who are hearing it. So, what you'll probably find with stories is that what the author intends when they write the story changes as they write the story. So, if you were to write a novel, the original intent at the start might not be the same as it is at the end. And so as the ideas about characters and story arcs and plots develop, and the just general mishmash of possibilities that come up during the creative process. So, whatever it is they were thinking at the beginning, they're probably not thinking that at the end. And so the same author of a story will look back at the story much later on and go, okay then, and have a potentially different set of interpretations to what they had the first time they looked at it. The author can do that. See, that's the important point. The author of a story can do that. They can perceive their own creative output differently over the course of time to what they did in the moment that creative output occurred. So it's not to say that the original interpretation was wrong and their secondary or third interpretation is better. It's not like that at all. There's no accuracy or inaccuracy involved. It's just that different moments seem to involve different interpretations of exactly the same bits of information. And so what typically happens with stories is that, considering the author can do that, it's amazing what the audience can do. Okay, when an audience looks at an artwork or a book or a movie or a story of some kind, they have their own projections onto the surface of that artifice that come from their own momentary interpretations and prior ideas of how symbols and words and so on and so forth might have different types of meaning to them. And so if you get an artwork or story or movie or something that has that possibility as part of its creative structure, so it's perhaps absurd or surreal or something to that effect, something that's a little bit more prone to interpretation, perhaps has information missing or distorted, like a Pablo Picasso painting, for example, or something by Escher or something like that, with his staircases and whatnot. Someone could look at that and see something different from someone else. And that's what is great about the optical illusion pictures is just that, is that the same picture can look like a woman's face or a duck, depending on the angle that it's viewed at by the audience member. And chances are the person who was drawing that picture at the time went, whoops, and went, oh, that's funny. Do a little bit more here and there and see what happens. Ha, ha, ha. And then someone's come along and gone, it's a woman. And someone's gone, it's a duck. No, it's definitely a woman. No, it's definitely a duck. And they've gone, no, someone had too many beers while they were drawing that. But anyhow, but okay then, that's fine. And so the importance there is that here the purpose of the story is to provoke some kind of, like, some artists and authors would stand back and go, oh, it's so funny how they do that. Make an artwork where they definitely do that, and just stand back and watch at the art exhibition and just laugh and just watch what the people do. And by the way, it is a funny thing to do. And they they show the diversity of interpretations and opinions that are possible for exactly the same piece of information. They do. They show the diversity of worldviews that are possible right then and there. And it's a beautiful thing to see that people are capable of that. It's actually a wonderful thing to know that just how different people's experiences and worldviews can be from that. There is a dark side, however, to it. And the dark side of that interpretive situation is that when you start getting cults and religions as or scientism, okay? Here, if an artwork was at an art gallery, your average person would probably walk in and go, this is a place of fiction. Unless they're talking about historical photographs from World War II that have been colorised or something like that, and there's some kind of indicator that the content is drawn from real life or is intended to discuss a real life topic, the presumption is going to be that it's fictional all the way through, and you just go, okay, what did the artist do? What's the audience doing? Okay, then. And so the thing about cults and religions and things like that is that they, and politics as well, politics and the military are like that as well, is that they have these issues where they've got dogma and doctrine and corporate policy, government and corporate policy and political policy and religious policy and doctrine, canon law, and all these different things about what's considered what the in-group does and what the out-group does. What they don't do is the out-group, and so that's the quote-unquote law. Okay, so the difference between the LORE and the LAW becomes apparent at this point, because the LORE is the story and the LAW is the doctrine, the policy, the custom, the etiquette, the practice, what you can and can't do. And so the thing about the LORE is that sometimes it gets mistaken for the LAW. Okay, because so-and-so's interpretation had to be the right one. Could be any other one. You have to do it now. And then, when there's disagreement on that, you get schisms, you get fractions, you get the splitting of the in-group into an in-group and its out-group component, a derivation on its theme. An ideological chasm is formed. The Liberal and the Nationals are no longer a coalition. They've gone to Splitsville. They were different before, but then they had an ideological sharing of some kind, or a power sharing structure of some kind, and then they decided to go Splitsville more recently. These things happen too. They go apart, they come back together, they go apart again. That's been known to happen as well. And each and every time you'll probably find that there is a distinct possibility that some members of one or more of those groups have had some kind of ideological chasm formed between them, and it was based on an interpretation of the LORE being described as an LAW. So this is a nod to Stan Grant. Do you know the difference between LORE and the LAW? Okay, it's a nod to Stan Grant, because Stan Grant said it on the TV once, and they had a debate about it, but the profoundness of what he was saying for human psychology more generally just wasn't appreciated at the time. and right now it's being appreciated. Okay, so um, um, the profoundness of that man saying that is there's a lot of truth to it. Okay, it's not just about one culture's LORE versus their LAW either. It's about culture more generally. To be able to make that distinction is a valuable distinction to make. He was a wise man for saying it. So Stan Grant, if there was a hat on his head, we'd tilt it to you right now, okay? Because that was a smart move, mate. It really was. Um, Artists can see that the LORE or the stories can be interpreted differently by the artists and the authors. Okay, they can do that. They can even play with that as part of their art making process. They'll go out of their way to make art that is playing on that idea, on their own capacity to interpret what they've created, let alone someone else's. If they can misinterpret it or reinterpret it, then so can someone else. They might even relish in that opportunity. They might think it's amusing. That might be why they do it. Okay? What's without it even being a prank. It's not even a prank when they do that. They just like the idea that people are able to see things differently from each other. Isn't it cool? Isn't it cool how distinct everyone's consciousness is, and how distinct their sentience is, and how distinct their worldviews are? Isn't it wonderful to live in a world of great plurality and variety? Isn't it a beautiful thing to not have monoculture and to have intelligence so broad and creativity so broad that that's even possible? Isn't that lovely? That they are their own unique fucking person who could come up with that fucking interpretation. And wow, how did they come up with that? And isn't it amazing how complete fucking strangers who've never met each other might, given a particular contextual information, come up with a meme or a theme that other people have heard of far, far away and reuse it in a completely different context so that other people find it amusing too. And yet, they were the only one that did it. Others did something completely fucking different as well. Isn't it fucking amazing how it's possible for people to take it and say it had installation and had an instruction. An installation and an instruction was you can do that. You can have an installation artwork that's an instruction, and those people don't follow the instruction exactly. Okay, they could steal the pens, or they could do something that is completely different from the instructions, and yet is so on theme. Okay, it's it's like it just vitalizes the whole thing. It just made it all worth it. It's like no, they didn't deface it. They didn't do the wrong thing with it. They did exactly what that's what they. Yeah, they got it. They did something completely different what they were instructed to do, but they still got it. Okay? They didn't miss the point at all. Sometimes it happens too. There's okay. So what's the point? What is the point of the LORE? Well, it depends on the story. If you're talking about an Aesop fable, the point is to teach people moral lessons through parables. So in Christianity, they talk about Jesus and his parables, right? Well, independently of that, there's also Aesop's fables from Europe. So a lot of LOREs when it comes to trying to enculture people into the LAW is parable based. So, there was this fictional character once, right? Who because they're not trying to pick on anyone, okay? So the idea of that is to not pick on people. Well, there was this character once, right, who did this and that, and this was a consequence. What do you think of that? Oh, that wasn't a good idea. Okay, now you get it. Right? Yeah. Right? Okay. So, Christianity is an example of an LORE that got mistaken for an LAW. Be fair now. Was he talking in parables? Oh, wait a minute. He was talking in parables, was he? He was talking in parables. Oh, why? Was he like Aesop, maybe? Oh, hang on. Gotta be talking in parables. What's the parable of the Good Samaritan? Everyone from their group was the good ones. The Samaritans were the bad guys. They were from that country, Samaria, where all the bad people were from. But there was this, really? They were kind of like, well, there was a Samaritan once who, was the only person who was helping that poor person out. Oh, jeez, he was so bad, wasn't he? Terrible Samaritan. Maybe he was the only good one. Oh, no, Samaritans aren't all bad. That guy was a good one. Yeah, see. And so, the real lesson being taught there is don't be prejudiced. Don't go assuming people from your out group are the bad guy. That's the lesson of the Good Samaritan, isn't it? If you read between the lines properly and treat it as a parable, okay, the parable is saying, don't hate members of your out group. You might need them one day. So, on the subject of Christianity again, fun times, when Christianity hated members of its out group, by going to other countries and not only not knowing the LORE, but what the LAW as well, were they hating members of their out group? Yeah, technically they were. So they didn't listen to the parable of the Good Samaritan, did they? They didn't listen to their own LORE. They listened to their LAW, not their LORE. Or more specifically, they listened to aspects of the LORE that were telling the parables of the missionary and his need of merry raw commission arseholes. Okay? So, LORE stories are subject to interpretation. The interesting thing is LAW is also subject to interpretation. Okay? Here there's an infraction, okay, of some kind, right? Okay? In the modern setting, okay, there's this thing called a court. Okay? And in that court, okay, there's a debate about who did what and what evidence there is to support it or not support it. And then they go, well, the law, LAW says this and that. Okay? Okay. What's it actually written? But what's the purpose of it? It's not just what's written, but the purpose of it that needs to be taken into consideration and in that context. And that's why this thing called a precedent is possible to set in some court systems, not necessarily tribunals, but some court systems. So they're able to set a precedent on the basis that their interpretation of the LAW can change in accordance with the circumstances based on the LORE and evidence that they got given in the court. So both LORE and LAW is subject to interpretation, but under different conditions. If you were to interpret LORE, okay, under the conditions that your belief system said so only, therefore you must cop it, okay, then you probably are not coming from a good place, okay? If you said, take for example, the duck woman drawing, if the truth of the story is that the artist in question that invented that optical illusion drawing was drunk at the time, then that's the fucking truth. We don't actually know, just throwing it out there. Someone else could come along and say, oh, he did that because he had an animalistic perception of women, and is expressing his confusion about women being clucky ducks and being, pretty maidens, and he was trying to explore his misogynistic prejudicial notions based on in a way that was acceptable for his time and place, because that was probably a subject of debate due to the suffragettes being around or something. You go, wow, that's a fascinating interpretation. Is there any evidence to support that? Was the artist in question associated with suffragettes? were they aware of the suffragettes movement? Did they were they someone who otherwise described themselves as having any ideas that related to that? Did they have any writings or documentation to suggest maybe that they were processing some kind of idea of that variety? Was the phrase clucky duck even part of their lexicon? Well, the answer is yes. You must say, okay, well, it sounds like that might be a viable hypothesis to describe the psychological constructs in a social political context associated with that particular drawer of the Ducky Woman drawing. You could then, because there would be evidence to support your argument. Okay, if you just went, your worldview says therefore, then you'd be full of fucking crap. So there was another video that said, oh, someone misinterpreted the Fred Astaire story about being Pizzagate. Right? Okay? Yeah, now you're going to see why that was said. Okay? Because it leads up to this video to teach about the idea, okay, in this video. Okay? So the phrase, go now in lust, so to go now in pizza, to lust and spread the glove. Okay? Is the last words in that book. Go now in pizza, to lust and spread the glove. Okay? Okay. Now, if you're doing a parody of Catholic rituals, okay, with drag queens and stuff like that, and aliens from outer space, and the flying spaghetti monster and whatever else, okay, you might want to chuck a couple of words in there that are vaguely Catholic sounding, as part of parody, because parody and satire involves things like, mimicry, but taken out of context. So go now in pizza instead of peace, because this is the end of Catholic Mass. Go now in peace to love and serve the Lord. That's what they actually say. So go now in pizza to lust and spread the glove. Okay, because there's a repeated joke about the hemorrhoids, okay, and the proctologist puts on the fucking glove, okay, so that's so the repeated joke about the proctologist putting on the glove, okay, is a bad joke associated with drag queens and things going up their bum, okay, it's crude. You can guarantee it's a crude story, okay, one way or another, okay, but it ain't no fucking Pizzagate story, okay. So the word glove refers to, if you get a hemorrhoid, okay, apparently the proctologist puts a rubber band like this, okay, then gets a little plastic tube, attaches it to a monitor, and sticks it up your bottom, and then what happens is that the monitor examines the hemorrhoid, and then I'll slough it off with a little rubber band. I'll get it with a little rubber band, okay. Now, the author of the book in question, okay, literally had just been a couple of months beforehand to the GP for a hemorrhoid, okay, and was spending their spare time on the weekends going to nightclubs in the city with gay friends to watch drag queens do karaoke, and had been to a political protest where they'd seen a man dressed as the railing goddess by putting on a pink plastic bag and cutting little holes out. So their LORE, their story for the Fred Astaire story, the author, okay, had had those experiences contribute to the idea, okay. And if you know the phrase, we're going to a party, we're going to eat pizza, okay, you know what that is. You know, if you're old enough to remember the rave song, or the techno song or whatever, from the early 2000s, it was in the early 2000s, we're going to a party, we're going to Ibiza. Okay, a lot of people in Australia in those days couldn't hear it properly because they were singing with a foreign accent, an overseas accent, and the style of the song made it difficult to hear properly. So people used to sing it as, "We're going to a party, we're going to eat pizza." Okay, as in pizza, and so the idea of the ravers eating pizza was a theme in that story. People going to nightclubs and and eating pizza. So there's a scene in the story about the acolyte who goes to the island of Pizza and finds that the salam was potent, as in salami. Okay, it's not that funny. Okay, but the salam was potent, but that's what he was hoping for. The salam would be potent and the cheese would be delicious. Instead, he found he was in the toilet zone, and all the toppings were rotting, and he was disgusted by it. So he wanted to visit the great goddess instead. The drag queen. Okay, because remember, drag queens, they refer to themselves as female when they're performing. So the goddess is not about a goddess at all. It's about a dude. It's a drag queen. Okay. And so the guy in question, he goes into his duffel bag and he searches for his dildo of reconnaissance, and he sticks it up he performs a second degree right up my ass. Okay. That's fucking rude. Okay, right? Okay, hoping that he will be teleported to the goddess's temple. Okay, okay, and the guy in question's a raver. Okay, it was a way. It was that book was an exaggeration, a massive exaggeration of gay male stereotypes and drag queen stereotypes, written by someone who was friends with gay people and drag queens, and used to go to karaoke night with the drag queens, okay, and hear songs like, "We're going to a party, we're going to eat pizza," okay, and had just gotten a hemorrhoid and been to a political protest where there was a dude in a plastic bag calling himself the Railing Goddess, okay, so, okay, okay, that's the truth of that story, okay? Here's how a 4chaner interpreted it. This is not even a joke, okay? Got some really nasty text messages once, or emails or whatever, and had to report them to the Australian Signals Directorate to get sorted out. It was incredible. Okay, a 4chaner of all people, because the book's on bloody Scribbit, okay? Okay, the book's on bloody Scribbit and was forgotten about for like 15 years, okay? And this 4chaner apparently has read the stinking fucking book, okay? Right? Okay, and they've gone and they've seen the word pizza and they thought it meant QAnon. And they thought the goddess was Hillary Clinton. Okay? That book was written, it's like, what the heck? Had to look up what that was. News media articles and crap like that and going, are you fucking kidding? What the fuck? How the fuck are you supposed to fucking get that out of that? Okay? The book was written before, get this, before the QAnon drops. Okay, story that happened, right? Because apparently these 4chan dickheads have done some QAnon drop thing, and there was apparently Hillary Clinton was guilty of what Donald Trump has turned out to be guilty of. Holy crap. So they tried to blame Hillary Clinton for Donald Trump stuff. Well, that's not working out well for them now, is it? Holy fucking crap. The fucking irony of it. And what before all that came out, like it was a couple of years ago, or probably about 18 months ago or something like that, started to get these weird messages like this, like someone was hacking a previous phone. I had this previous phone that someone started to hack, right? And they started going, you fucking dirty, you're free to stare, but you're free to stare fucking book is all about fucking Hillary Clinton and fucking QAnon and fucking this and that. It's like, what are you talking about? What, fucking free to stare story? That was published fucking 15 years ago nearly. It was a fucking ages ago. 14 years ago that book was published. And so, it's unscripted, with barely anyone reading it, because it's a piece of shit book. It's not like it's actually funny. I mean, unless you've got a particular sense of humour. And it's like, what kind of drugs are 4chan on? They're completely fucking insane. Okay, 4chan are losers who don't understand anything. It's like, okay, hang on a second. How did they get that again? So, the book was written before QAnon drops. It's about drag queens. But somehow they've gone and gotten a copy of it. Don't know why they bothered to look for it or how they found it, but somehow they've done it. And they've gone, are you fucking, what the fuck? How did they come up with that? Oh, the word pizza's in it. Okay, right, the word pizza's in it. Okay, look, okay? Okay, what do you think people are going to eat after a fucking nightclub? Before or after going to a nightclub? What do you think they do? They have tapas, pizza, and kebabs. You fucking know it. Or maybe Thai food. You know, you. Okay, they go, okay, so pizza and beer. Oh, no one's ever done that before. You'd think 4chan would figure that out, right? The 4chan in question, who the fuck they were. You would have thought they would have figured that out. But apparently, they were such a pig-headed fucking arsehole that only their misinterpretations of someone else's stuff was reality. You know, they conned themselves into the great lie that 4chan had told them. And so they've gone and they've projected that lie onto something that has absolutely no relation to it whatsoever, that was penned by someone who didn't even use fucking 4chan, hadn't even heard of fucking QAnon. What? So it's like, oh, but there's these things in it, and there's this people sticking things up people's backsides, and it's like, fucking dickhead. Okay. If you're going to tell a story about gay male stereotypes, you know full well it involves them sticking things up their bum. You fucking know it. Okay? At this point, no matter how crazy this vantage point has ever experienced craziness, it has been completely, legitimately incomprehensible to all and fucking sundry that have heard about that fucking story, that anyone could possibly do that. Like, you can't look at that story and see that, to start off with, because, first of all, it doesn't mention any politicians or Hillary Clinton. Like, it doesn't mention that. So that's a bit crazy. It's just loosely got a couple of references to pizza in it. Like, it's very clearly referring to this flying spaghetti monster. Makes reference to zombie Jesus and a few other atheist memes. Like, if you remember atheist memes from sometime in the early to mid 2000s or mid 2000s, not really, but sort of like, you know, sort of like 2005 to 2011 type time period. There were jokes like zombie Jesus, the flying spaghetti monster. You know, like the only meme. Look, LOL cats weren't the only fucking popular meme out there, and QAnon was not the only fucking popular thing that fucking happened. Zombie Jesus was a very popular meme a while back, very, very popular, and it's definitely a flying spaghetti monster. Okay, so it's that is an example of audience interpretation gone horribly wrong. Okay, so when it comes to audience interpretation, there is definitely a line in the sand where, as wonderful and beautiful it is to know that there are so many different ways that people can look at the same thing. Okay, um, you just can't say that Fred Astaire was talking about QAnon. Like, you just can't do it. It's completely insane. Okay, if you're a gay person and you're offended by that, that's probably fair enough. Just bear in mind that lampooning the stereotypes to its nth degree was probably an attempt to show just how ridiculous they are. Because that person that wrote it actually supported gay rights. But anyway, mm, get QAnon, fucking QAnon. It's amazing the different worldviews you can fucking get QAnon. QAnon. So anyway, QAnon. Are you noticing anything? Like, there is actually a wrong way to interpret someone else's creative output. Like, it really is. Like, is it a genuinely insulting way of doing it? Is it the case that fictional books of fictional characters like the Bible, for example, a lot of them are fictional. Not all the characters are fictional. They're but a lot of them are. So we'll call it factitious. It's not really, or it's very, it's an artist's interpretation of one or two historical events taken way out of context through word of mouth over several generations to the point where people forgot completely and entirely mythologise it. It's a book of some legends and a lot of fucking bullshit. Okay? It's probably more accurate, right? Okay? Okay? For the people who believe in Jesus, he's real, he existed, he's in outer space or some crap and he's looking after everyone or something like that. It's like, okay then. Are you crazy? The Constantine is more than likely the one that invented the idea. There's been no receipts on the subject. You've got no proof of what's the name? Jesus Christ's existence. And on that subject, you can rest assured Fred Astaire never existed either. Okay? So, okay, it's a made-up fucking character. It's crap. Okay? Every aspect of that story, okay? Every aspect of that story is not about the same person. It's all out of context information about a whole bunch of different places that it's inspired from. It doesn't actually refer to any specific person at all. And it clearly shows, the whole irony of it, it actually shows characters misinterpreting things and talking about a character they've never met as a means to show that the Bible has chapters in it where you've got people discussing previous Bible stuff that they weren't involved in, and it's completely out of context. Like, it clearly shows. It shows in it. It even lampoons religious and ideological schisms and how later authors misinterpret previous authors, and they're all talking about a character they've never met. And they just, you know, what this is the religious type thinking of your 4chaner type character in that situation, and how they never met Hillary fucking Clinton or Donald Trump or any of those people, just like this body's never met those people, okay? They never met them. They never actually looked at their stuff. They've gone and listened to some QAnon or something, right? Okay? If you actually watched a video of Donald Trump talking and you actually heard him say the words, Kamala Harris is a sex worker and a liar and a fraud, a week after you saw another video of him being convicted of fraud in relation to a sex worker, you might conclude quite rightly he's engaging in projection and lying, because Kamala was the vice president at the time, not a sex worker. Okay, that's not quite what these 4chaners have done, is it? Okay, it sounds like what they've done is that some completely random person has gone onto one of their message forums or something and just said a bunch of fucking crap, and they've soaked it up because ha ha ha, women be fucking bitches or something, okay? And then they've just blown it all out of fucking proportion. The amazing fucking thing is apparently one of the things that come up, like because had to in the process of trying to figure out what this crap was, these messages were, had to research what Keck was as well. And Keck was what they were calling Donald Trump. That's what. Okay, but they were so hero worshipping the guy, but saying he's the god of darkness. Hang on, which is Pepe the Frog or something, and something to do with a Nazi man. I was like, hang on. So it's not really adding up, is it? So, it seems like 4chaners don't make a lot of sense. They seem like they might be crazy people, okay, who don't know how to read other people's stories, and they might be coming from a place where fictional characters hold more value to them than real ones. Because Mr. Trump, despite all of his flaws, is probably not Keck, okay? He doesn't look like a frog. He does look like a kind of deranged Oompa Loompa, okay? But he doesn't look like a frog. And it's a bit confusing that they confused him with one. Okay? So, 4chan, you're silly. Okay? You didn't understand other people's LORE, and as a consequence, you committed slander, which is a breach of LAW, and now you're being proven wrong, and you can get fucking stuffed, because Donald Trump sure as shit ain't your fucking saviour. Is he now? Which is what they were fucking carrying on about as well, apparently. Okay? Hillary Clinton didn't do that, okay? As far as we know, unless they released the Epstein client list, in which case, well, if she did, she'll be in trouble then. But, either way, you fucking assholes, that ain't fucking Fred Astaire. Okay, Fred Astaire isn't he afraid of stare? You know, because he likes to dance at nightclubs and do karaoke, singing Shirley Bassey and Gloria Gaynor. The minute you walked in the joint, I could see you were a man of distinction, a real big spender, good looking, so refined. Okay, what's wrong with that? Grown men putting on lipstick and a dress, singing Gloria Gaynor and Shirley Bassey are not the American corporate, military and political elite hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein. And if you can't figure that out, Yeah, what's wrong with the bloody world? Haven't the gays copped enough, for fuck's sake? Haven't they copped enough? Unfucking believable.